We kind of got our program based broken down into 4 segments. Number 1 segment, you get your winter conditioning. We started in January and ended last week before spring break. Thought it went well. Thought our players made great gains as far as strength and agilities and that type of thing, which is what you try to get done at that point. And now we're going into our second phase, or our second quarter, as we call it, which is spring football. And it's important, you know, with the expectations, and these guys are feeling pretty good about themselves, that they got to make sure that we do the 3 things we talked about, you know, all last year. When you have success like this, you know, the number 1 thing you worry about as a head football coach is complacency setting in, you know, with the players and coaches, and everybody's feeling pretty good about themselves. So it's my job as a head coach to make sure that doesn't happen. We've got to make sure we remain an unselfish football team, and got to maintain that we're accountable to each other and with our actions on and off the field. So those 3 things have got to happen in order for us to have the kind of success that we have to have and what we expect to do. And then, of course, just having 15 practices, we got to make sure that we go out there every day and walk off that field a better football team as individuals and also a team. So got a lot of work to do. I know I'm excited. The coaches are excited to get back out there tomorrow. The weather's going to be great. It's going to get warmer towards the end of the week, so we're looking forward to it. So at this time, we'll just take any questions and answer anything you have.
What position battles are you looking forward to see this spring?
I think there's a lot of them. I think you know, we got the team back last night, and you know, we talked about there's some players. It's their time to step up and become players. And you know, we talk about it all the time with our program. There's no place to hide in this program. If you don't like where you are, change what you're doing. And there's some athletes out there, there's some young players out there it's time for them to step up and help this football team. And the Massaquoys, the Mons Daniels, you know, a lot of players, just to mention a few, Josh Brown, a lot of younger players, they need to step up so we can count on them. We can trust them to go in there and be able to play and help this football team take that next step. So, you know, we challenge a lot of guys. You know, we know the core Tindalls are players, and the Darryl Roberts, the Catos, and all those guys. But in order for us to get where we want to go, those young players have to develop. And it's their job to make sure they develop along with the older leadership on this football team, that they drag those guys along. So, I think the quarterback situation is critical. I think you know, we all know Cato. You know, he can play, but we got to get a backup. I mean, it's great. If you don't have that guy at that position, that's an issue. So those 3 guys are going to get a lot of reps, and we got to make sure that we do a great job as coaches. And we've talked about that this morning with our practice schedules, to put those 3 players in as many situations as we can to come out of spring ball with a guy that's capable of going in and playing. So that's number 1. Of course, their offensive line, some of those young guys need to develop, and just everywhere else. All those young players, you know, the more depth we can have. And I think our special teams were a lot better a year ago, just having younger athletes that can run around out there and help that position too.
Doc, have you seen a difference mentally from these 3 quarterbacks, knowing, you know, they've had a couple months to digest the fact that they're going to be in the spotlight, and they handle it pretty well?
Yeah, Keith, I don't think there's any question. I've seen it for you know, a lot of years I've coached, that you know, kids react different when it's their turn. And, you know, now all of a sudden, you know, there's an opportunity for somebody to step up and be the guy, and I'm anxious to see who that is. And competition's a great thing. You know, with Gunner and Kevin and Cole, all 3 of those guys have worked extremely hard. And like I say, it's going to be critical for us, you know, Billy, along with that offensive staff, to put these kids in a situation that we can determine who that guy's going to be, because it's going to be critical for the success of this football team.
Any formula in rotating the reps between those 3 backups among the first team, second team, and whatnot? Or
yeah, I don't know, Doug. I think that you just give them equal reps initially. I mean, if somebody becomes a clear-cut guy early, I mean, of course he's going to get more reps. But you know, we need to, you know, we know not that Cato doesn't need reps in spring. He's got to get better too. You know, he's in all areas. But we kind of know what he can do to an extent. So there's probably going to be times where he may be sitting over there coaching and watching and helping coach those young guys and then getting more reps, because it's critical this spring that we do come out there again with a backup. And all 3 of those guys are going to need to get reps early, and then hopefully by halfway through spring or whatever, we get done just a couple of them, maybe by the end even down to 1. So we'll just try to create as many situations as we can. We're going to go, for example, tomorrow we've added 5 more minutes to 7-on-7 tomorrow and Thursday, which will give us more reps, you know, for those kids.
So that as you're going number 2 by the end of spring, you don't want leaking into fall?
Well, you'd like to. I mean, obviously, you know, I'd like to be able for that to happen. It could. If it's, you know, it's you know, been you know, around a while, when you think you've got more than 2 quarterbacks, chances are you don't have any. Or if you got more than 1, you don't have any. If you think you got 2, you don't have any. But even as a backup situation, if it's that close throughout spring with all 3 of them, chances are we don't have a backup. I mean, that's kind of the way things go. And I think it's critical that one of those guys rises up pretty quick. I mean, because if we got 3 of them, they're all about the same, chances are we don't have any. And so I think that early on, we'll have to find out which one steps up, and I expect that to happen.
You look at some of the guys, and I'll look at, you know, Angelo and Deontay got to practice a little bit toward bowl season. How important is that for them going into this spring? Does that make them more comfortable going in?
I don't think there's any question. We got, you know, number one, just having the opportunity to get those guys out there. I think it was 6 or 7 times. I don't know exactly, but as coaches, we found out pretty quick they can play. So, you know, number one, they've got all the athletic ability to go play. They've had a great winter. I mean, they've improved tremendously as far as strength and all that goes all along. And those guys are going to get thrown into the fire early because we've got to come up with an outside receiver that can go make plays. And then, of course, with Gator being gone, you know, Devin and Fro are both back. Manis offers, you know, another option in there. An athletic guy that's big and strong and can run the catch and